The Peterson family home in a bustling American suburb wasn't just a house. It was a living, breathing entity, pulsating with laughter, the aroma of home-cooked meals, and the rhythmic beat of life. John Peterson, a retired civil servant, and Sarah Peterson, a formidable businesswoman who ran a bustling local boutique, had built their lives on the bedrock of hard work, faith, and an unshakable belief in family. Their 4 children, David, the eldest, Chloe, the vibrant middle daughter, Ethan, the quiet, studious son, and little Lily, the sunshine of their lives, were the jewels in their crown. Their collective dream, whispered over steaming plates of pot roast and mashed potatoes, was to build a family legacy, not just wealth, but a foundation that would secure their future for generations. Mr. Peterson often spoke of investing in a plot of land for a new family compound, a place where all their children and grandchildren could live together, a testament to their unity. Mrs. Peterson dreamed of expanding her boutique, creating jobs and leaving a mark on their community. Every dollar saved, every sacrifice made, was for this shared vision. David, their firstborn, was the embodiment of their hopes. He was brilliant, charismatic, and possessed a quick wit that charmed everyone he met. He was the first Peterson to attend university abroad, studying finance in London, a feat that filled his parents with immense pride. When he returned, armed with a prestigious degree and a polished demeanor, he was seen as the family's golden boy, the one destined to elevate them all. David understands these modern financial things, Mr. Peterson would say, his chest puffed out with pride. He knows how to make our money work for us. And so it began. David, with his smooth explanations of investments, returns, and market trends, gradually became the de facto financial manager of the Peterson household. He set up online accounts, managed their savings, and advised them on where to put their hard-earned money. Why Mrs. Peterson entrusted him with the proceeds from her boutique. Mr. Peterson handed over his pension lump sum, and even Chloe and Ethan, as they started earning, would give David portions of their salaries to invest, trusting his judgment implicitly. He was meticulous at first. He'd provide quarterly reports, filled with impressive figures and optimistic projections. He'd explain complex financial jargon in simple terms, making them feel empowered and informed. He'd even helped Mrs. Peterson secure a small loan for a new inventory of fabrics, navigating the paperwork with ease. He was always there, always ready to help, always reassuring. He had their trust, utterly and completely, the crown jewel of their assets. However, was not money in a bank, but brick and mortar, Mrs. Peterson's mother's house, a modest ancestral home in their small hometown. It held generations of memories, the scent of fresh-baked bread and old stories clinging to its walls. It was more than just property. It was a spiritual anchor, a symbol of their roots and resilience. When Mrs. Peterson's mother passed, the house was formally transferred to Mrs. Peterson, but David, ever the efficient one, had offered to handle the legalities, ensuring the deed was properly registered and secured. He'd even suggested holding the original deed for safekeeping in a fireproof box he claimed to have at his own apartment. Mrs. Peterson, without a second thought, had agreed. Why wouldn't she? This was David, her firstborn, her pride. The first subtle shifts were barely noticeable. David started dressing in increasingly expensive clothes, driving a flashier car than his supposed salary should afford. He'd make excuses, a bonus here, a successful small investment there. He'd occasionally be late with his financial reports, blaming system glitches or market volatility. The family, blinded by their faith in him, never questioned. They saw his success as their own, a sign that their collective dream was steadily coming to fruition. But beneath the veneer of success, a rot had begun. David had started small, siphoning off minor amounts, telling himself he'd replace them. A loan for a new watch, a quick trip with friends. The thrill of easy money, of living a life he felt he deserved, was intoxicating. The family's savings, once a sacred trust, became his personal ATM. He started forging Mr. Peterson's signature, then Mrs. Peterson's on withdrawal slips and investment documents. He created fake statements, meticulously crafting numbers that looked good on paper but bore no resemblance to the rapidly dwindling balances. The real turning point came with the grandmother's house. David had accumulated significant debts from his lavish lifestyle and failed personal ventures. He needed a large sum quickly. The house, sitting quietly in the small town, was a dormant goldmine. He rationalized it. It's just an old house. They'll never know. I'll replace it, build them a bigger one later. He forged Mrs. Peterson's signature on the deed, found a corrupt lawyer to facilitate the sale, and within weeks the ancestral home, the very soul of their heritage, was gone, sold to a wealthy developer for a fraction of its true sentimental value. The money vanished into David's gaping financial maw, used to pay off debts and fund an even more extravagant escape plan. The discovery was brutal. It began with a letter innocuous at first glance, a notice from the town council, addressed to Mrs. Peterson, regarding new development plans on the plot where her mother's house stood. Mrs. Peterson, confused, took it to Mr. Peterson. They called David, but his phone went straight to voicemail. Days turned into a week, then 2. David was unreachable. Then came the second letter, this one from a law firm, demanding that Mrs. Peterson vacate the property within 30 days. As it had been legally sold, the Peterson family gathered in their living room, the air thick with dread. Mrs. Peterson's hands trembled as she held the letter. What is this? This cannot be. We did not sell the house. Ethan, ever the practical one, tried to log into the online banking accounts David had set up. He tried David's usual passwords, then common variations. Nothing worked. Panic began to set in. They called the bank. The news was a cold slap to the face. The accounts were empty. Not just empty, but closed. No, this is a mistake, Mr. Peterson whispered, his voice hoarse. David would never, but the evidence mounted a horrifying avalanche. The bank confirmed large, consistent withdrawals over the past 2 years, all authorized with what appeared to be their signatures. The land registry confirmed the sale of the grandmother's house, complete with what looked like Mrs. Peterson's notarized signature on the deed. The truth, when it finally hit, was a physical blow. David, their golden boy, their trusted eldest son, had betrayed them. He had systematically, meticulously, drained their life savings, sold their ancestral home, and then vanished. The house that once hummed with life now echoed with the silence of shock and grief. Mrs. Peterson wept for days, her tears not just for the lost money, but for the shattered trust, the desecration of her mother's memory. Mr. Peterson, usually so strong, seemed to shrink. His shoulders bowed under the weight of the betrayal. He couldn't comprehend it, couldn't reconcile the son he knew with the thief who had stolen their future. How could he? Chloe cried, her vibrant spirit dimmed by a bitter anger. How could our own brother do this to us? If you've made it this far into the story, you're deep in it with us now. Take a moment, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below. What would you do if someone in your family betrayed you like this? And don't forget to share this with someone who needs to hear this powerful story. All right, let's get back to it, because what happens next will truly shake you. Ethan, the quiet one, became withdrawn, consumed by a quiet fury. Little Lily, too young to fully grasp the financial ruin, sensed the shift, her bright laughter replaced by confused silence. The financial ruin was immediate and devastating. Mrs. Peterson's boutique, starved of capital, faltered. Mr. Peterson's pension was gone. They sold off furniture, jewelry, anything of value to keep their heads above water. They moved from their comfortable home to a smaller rented apartment. The dream of the family compound of a secure future evaporated like smoke. The grandmother's house, the very symbol of their heritage, was bulldozed to make way for a luxury apartment complex, a final crushing blow. The family, once so united, felt a chasm open between them, a gaping wound inflicted by the very person they had loved and trusted most. While the Petersons struggled, David was living a life of unbridled luxury. He had used the stolen funds to flee to Dubai, a city of glittering skyscrapers and endless indulgence. He rented a penthouse with panoramic views, drove high-end sports cars, and frequented exclusive clubs. He surrounded himself with sycophants who admired his apparent wealth. never questioning its source. He gambled, he partied, he bought designer clothes and expensive watches. He was living the fantasy he believed he deserved. There were moments, fleeting and unwelcome, when a pang of guilt would pierce through the haze of champagne and excess. A memory of Mrs. Peterson's smile, Mr. Peterson's proud eyes, Chloe's laughter. But he'd quickly push them away, rationalizing his actions. They wouldn't understand. I needed this. I'll make it all back, and more, and then I'll surprise them. The lie became his constant companion, a flimsy shield against the truth of his betrayal. He convinced himself he was smart, a survivor, not a criminal. He was untouchable. Years passed. 5 years. The Petersons, battered but unbroken, had slowly begun to rebuild. Mrs. Peterson, with fierce determination, had restarted her boutique on a smaller scale, working tirelessly from their new, cramped apartment. Mr. Peterson, despite his heartbreak, found solace in community work, his wisdom now tempered by a quiet sorrow. Chloe had put her own dreams on hold, working multiple jobs to support the family. Ethan, driven by a quiet resolve, had excelled in his studies, determined to restore their family's honor through legitimate success. Lily, now a teenager, carried the unspoken weight of their past, a shadow in her bright eyes. They were survivors, but the scars of David's betrayal ran deep, a constant, aching reminder. Then the news broke, not through a formal channel, but through the grapevine, a hushed whisper that quickly turned into a roar. An American man, identified as David Peterson, arrested in Dubai for massive fraud and money laundering. The headlines flashed across international news channels, detailing his lavish lifestyle, his intricate web of deceit, his sudden fall from grace. Karma, it seemed, had a long memory and a global reach. The Peterson family saw the news. Mrs. Peterson collapsed onto a chair, a mix of grim satisfaction and renewed grief washing over her. Mr. Peterson stared at the screen, his face unreadable. Chloe felt a surge of vindication, mixed with a chilling sense of pity. Ethan's quiet fury finally found its target. Lily, seeing the shattered image of the brother she barely remembered, felt a strange mix of confusion and sadness. He got what he deserved, Chloe stated, her voice hard. After what he did to us, let him rot. But Mrs. Peterson, through her tears, whispered, "He is still my son." The true test came weeks later. A call, routed through the American embassy, then through a distant relative who had managed to track them down. It was David. His voice, once so confident and smooth, was now broken, desperate, filled with a raw fear they had never heard before. He was facing a long prison sentence, possibly deportation to the U.S. to face further charges. He was alone, abandoned by his fair-weather friends, his money confiscated. He had nothing. "Mom," he pleaded, his voice cracking. "Dad, please, I know I messed up. I know I betrayed you, but I have nowhere else to go. Please, help me. I'm begging you." The plea hung in the air, heavy with years of pain and unanswered questions. The Peterson family gathered once more, not around a table laden with food, but around the cold, hard decision that lay before them. Should they save him? The son who had torn their lives apart, who had stolen their future, who had desecrated their heritage? Or should they let him face the consequences of his actions, a justice long overdue? The deliberation was agonizing, a raw, emotional battle fought within the confines of their small living room. "He is my son," Mrs. Peterson began, her voice trembling but firm. "My firstborn. No matter what he has done, a mother does not abandon her child." Her eyes, though still holding pain, also held a flicker of that unconditional love that only a mother can possess. He made his bed, yes, but if he is truly remorseful, if he has learned, perhaps there is a path to redemption. We are a family of faith. We believe in forgiveness. Mr. Peterson, however, was less swayed by sentiment. "Forgiveness, Sarah, is one thing. Enabling is another. He stole from us. He stole our security. He stole your mother's house. Do you know the shame he brought upon this family? The years of struggle? He chose his path. Let him walk it." His voice was heavy with the weight of his own shattered trust. The pride he had once held for David now twisted into a bitter ache. If we help him, what message does that send? That betrayal has no true cost? Chloe, her face still etched with the memory of their struggles, spoke next. I agree with Dad. We went through hell because of him. I put my life on hold. Ethan worked himself to the bone. Mom had to start from scratch. And for what? So he could live like a king in Dubai? Let him face the music. Maybe then he will truly understand what he did. Her anger was a protective shield, guarding the wounds David had inflicted. Where was his family loyalty when he was forging our signatures? Where was his trust when he sold Grandma's house? Ethan, quiet as ever, finally spoke, his voice low but resolute. I want to see him pay. I want him to feel a fraction of the pain he caused us. But I also remember the brother who taught me how to ride a bicycle, the one who helped me with my homework. The David before the money changed him. He paused, a deep sigh escaping him. If we let him go completely, will we ever truly be free of him? Or will this burden, this question of what if, always hang over us? His perspective was complex, torn between justice and a lingering, almost reluctant sense of familial obligation. Little Lily, now old enough to understand the gravity of the situation, looked at her parents, her eyes wide. He hurt us. He made Mom cry so much. But he's alone now. Isn't that what family is for? To help when no one else will? Her innocence cut through the bitterness, a reminder of the pure, untainted bond they once shared. The grandmother's house, though long gone, loomed large in their discussion. It was the deepest wound, the most unforgivable act. Mrs. Peterson remembered the scent of her mother's cooking, the stories told by the hearth. Mr. Peterson remembered the pride in his wife's eyes when she inherited it. Chloe remembered playing in its dusty rooms as a child. The house was not just property. It was their lineage, their history. After hours of heated debate, of tears and accusations, of painful memories resurfacing, a difficult consensus began to form. It wasn't a unanimous decision, nor was it born of easy forgiveness. It was a decision forged in the crucible of their shared suffering, a testament to the enduring, complex nature of family. They decided not to fully rescue him, not to pay off his legal fees or fly him home to avoid justice. That, they agreed, would be enabling. That would negate the years of pain they had endured. But they also couldn't completely abandon him. He was still their blood. Mrs. Peterson, with Mr. Peterson's reluctant nod, called the embassy. They would provide him with a basic legal aid contact in Dubai, someone to ensure he wasn't completely railroaded, someone to advise him on the minimum steps he needed to take. They would not send money for a lavish defense, nor would they try to pull strings to get him out of jail. He would face the consequences of his actions, but they would send a message through the relative that they were willing to listen after he had paid his dues, that the door, though barely ajar, was not entirely shut, that true redemption began with true accountability. The call to David was brief, delivered by the relative. He listened, his voice choked with a mixture of relief and disappointment. He understood. He would face his punishment, and perhaps, just perhaps, when he emerged, broken but humbled, there might be a sliver of hope for a future, for a reconciliation that would be earned, not given freely. The Peterson family's decision was a powerful reflection on the intricate dance between trust, loyalty, and consequences. Trust, they had learned, is a fragile thing, built over years and shattered in moments. It is given freely, but once betrayed, it leaves an indelible mark, a phantom limb that aches with what was lost. David had not just stolen money. He had stolen their peace of mind, their sense of security, and a piece of their collective soul. Loyalty, too, had been tested to its limits. The primal bond of family, the instinct to protect one's own, had warred with the searing pain of betrayal. They had chosen a path that acknowledged both, holding him accountable for his actions, yet leaving open the faintest possibility of future connection, a testament to the enduring, if complicated, love that binds a family. It was a loyalty tempered by justice, a love that demanded growth and genuine remorse, and consequences. David's story was a stark reminder that actions ripple outwards, affecting not just a perpetrator but an entire ecosystem of lives. His pursuit of superficial wealth had led to the destruction of his family's financial stability, their emotional well-being, and ultimately his own freedom. Karma, it seemed, was not just a concept, but a relentless force, ensuring that the scales of justice, however slowly, eventually balance. The Peterson family, though scarred, emerged from the ordeal with a renewed, albeit harder one, strength. They had faced their greatest betrayal and, in their own way, had found a path forward. Their house might be smaller, their savings rebuilt from scratch, and the ancestral home a painful memory, but their spirit remained unbroken. They had learned that true wealth wasn't in bank accounts or properties, but in the resilience of their bonds, the unwavering support they found in each other, and the difficult, often painful, lessons learned from the weight of gold and the true price of betrayal. The road to healing would be long, but they would walk it together, a family forever changed, but ultimately still standing.